Of all the weapons in the vast Soviet arsenal, nothing was more profitable than Avtomat Kalashnikova model of 1947, more commonly known as the AK-47 or Kalashnikov. It's the world's most popular assault rifle, a weapon all fighters love. An elegantly simple 9-pound amalgamation of forged steel and plywood. It doesn't break, jam or overheat. It will fire whether it's covered in mud or filled with sand. It's so easy, even a child could use it, and they do. The Soviets put the gun on a coin. Mozambique put it on their flag. Since the end of the Cold War, the Kalashnikov has become the Russian people's greatest export. After that comes vodka, caviar and suicidal novelists. One thing's for sure, no one was lining up to buy their cars. Hey guys, Bada Bing here. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to be looking at the Tokyo Marui AK-47 Type 3 Next Generation Recoil AEG. Now, I don't usually review electrics, they're generally not my thing, but when I heard TM were releasing a next-gen Recoil AK-47 with bolt stop ability, I thought, now that's quite special, I wouldn't mind looking at that. TM released this AK on the 7th of December 2017, and Impulse 101 got it to me just in time for Christmas. As always, their service is legendary, so thanks guys. You can find their link in the description. The rifle comes to you in this beautiful box. I love that they just don't release a new gun and ship it in a plain old box. With every release, it's always a celebration to them. Not only do they craft wonderfully made and out-of-the-box skirmishable airsoft guns, but their presentation is exquisite. The lid is designed to look like a weapons crate, and finished with all the little details, which is a neat touch. The interior is lined with a Hessian-type material, which further sells the idea that it's something Kalashnikov concern shipped directly to you. Furthermore, within it we see a small box, which replicates a kind of Bakelite finish. Within it contains a small packet of BBs, iron sight tool, Allen key, barrel plug and magwell adapters, so you can use regular AEG AK magazines. As you can guess, this uses its own proprietary magazine to enable the bolt stop ability, but more on that later. Continuing rummaging through the crate, we find a BB loader and cleaning rod, but no manual. The instruction manual has its home in a cheeky little nook underneath the lid. Also to note, the foam insert which further secures the rifle and magazine without the need of those straps. I'm still excited over the excellent presentation. The manual is found in a cool Ziploc document case and features useful diagrams and other instructional information. The English here is very good. Now, that's enough perving over the arms crate. What about that AK? The finishing is gorgeous, and I love that hue. It's almost a gunmetal grey, but I want to say it's got a hint of green. Perhaps it's just me, I am colourblind after all. This AK-47 features mostly metal externals, and as such the rifle is quite hefty. The overall build quality is solid. There isn't any play in any of the surface parts, it's just all rock solid. Awesome. The rifle is also well balanced. The central balance point is right up against the magazine release catch. The handguards, pistol grip and stock are the only plastic parts to actually mention on the outside. Unfortunately, it isn't real wood. Well, it was bound to be plastic, right? but not as a lighter colour tone as their 20-year-old plus AK-47s. The colouring here is a deep reddish colour, and they've gone so far as to replicate a style of wood grain to the finish. For faux wood furniture, it could have been a lot worse. The lower receiver is metal, a die-cast metal, but metal nonetheless. The lower receiver pins look to be separate pieces that were punched into the surface. On the older AK-47 it was merely moulded onto the surface, so the finishing has been enhanced. Speaking of the metal, the steel parts I've found on the externals are the stock plate, rear sling point, trigger guard, the fake receiver pins, top cover, safety selector, magazine and AK cleaning rod. The iron sights appear to be unchanged from their older version. I guess it doesn't need to be different. They do the job, and the front iron can be raised and lowered, but not side to side. The rear iron sight is exactly the same. Pulling back on the charging handle reveals the hop-up adjustment wheel. It's easy to access, and adjusting it is a breeze. It's far better than their older design. The selector switch is quite stiff, and they have perfectly captured the look of the Type 3 selector. The ledge isn't as pronounced as their older variant. The location of the battery lies within the upper gas tube handguard and is accessed via the gas tube lever on the right side, exactly the same as the real steel AK. There's only a small compartment to store those batteries, so be sure to select a mini-sized battery. Within the compartment there's two pieces of plastic either side to disguise the view of any wires or batteries from the outside. The magazines hold 90 rounds, but feature a switch inside to reduce the capacity to 30 rounds, so that's pretty cool for the real cap fans. You can find the switch by removing the grub screw at the front locking lug using the Allen keys provided, and sliding out the internals. Due to the bolt stop feature, these magazines are only compatible with this specific rifle, and also any subsequent bolt stop AKs TM decide to release later on down the road. You can use the older style electric gun AK magazines using the adapters that are located in the faux Bakelite box. These magazines are also very light. I'm used to carrying around GHK gas blowback AK magazines, and those things weigh a ton. An unloaded Marui magazine weighs 266 grams. Lastly, these magazines feature a dry fire mode, allowing you to shoot as much as you'd like without the rifle cutting out. Before we start blazing away, let's see what this rifle can do at the Chrono using .2 BBs. The rifle held a consistent FPS score of around 303, no higher than 310, as one would expect from a Marui AEG. No surprises here. Next I fill a magazine with Airsoft Surgeon 2.5s and get to work pinging a target at 20 meters. Groupings were tidy, with only a couple of shots flying off course. The rest were in and around the central bullseye, so more than acceptable. I also tried scoring hits on a mannequin here at 50 meters. Shooting the AK is a nice little experience. I say nice only because I'm so used to using a gas blowback AK, so in a way it's kind of ruined it for me. The recoil can be felt, but it isn't a jolt I'm used to. It's more of a gentle rocking motion. Since the rifle has quite the weight to it, this would soak up some of the effort that the recoil engine delivers. I think the AR recoil has a touch more to offer. Compared to other electric blowback AKs I've seen, this seems to have a higher vibration, and because of that recoil engine, it gives off a meatier sound than your typical AEG. What is cool though is that bolt stop. No longer shall you be firing long after your magazine was empty before you notice that that guy over there wasn't being tickled by your BBs. With this rifle you feel a bit more involved compared to the M4 recoil. Having to juice up the rifle followed by pulling back on the bolts, it really sells it that you're chambering that fresh BB. However, not as much as you'd get by pulling back the BCG on a gas one. On here, it feels toyish, but as I said earlier, you feel more involved than you would with any other electric AK. Throughout my time with this AK-47, I've experienced a small issue. The rifle would not fire. I tried a couple of batteries, all charged, but it still wouldn't shoot. I checked the magazines, set them to dry fire mode, and yet still nothing. Charging the rifle, resetting the bolt stop, still didn't make the rifle fire. This was worrying. I checked the fuse, the wiring, and even the contacts on the motor. It all seemed fine. Still brand new, so it really stumped me. I was about ready to throw the towel in and ask Impulse 101 for some guidance, when, as I fumbled around with the rifle, I noticed that I couldn't remove the top cover. The button holding it in place was incredibly stiff. I had to use a blunt instrument to press the button just enough to take off the cover. And while nothing underneath gave me any visual indication of an issue, the struggle to push the button was more than enough to identify a gearbox seize, most likely within the recoil system. So, with the battery installed and the rifle pointed somewhere safe, I pulled back the charging handle as I pulled the trigger. Bang! It sprung back into life and relieved all my pent-up stress. I think I've just seized the gun again. Ignore the tape. That's the my small batteries run out of juice. But the gun has stopped firing. Exactly the same as last time. There we go. That's cleared the malfunction. So that's something to note for you potential buyers out there. Another thing I experienced a couple of times was the gearbox lock up on semi-auto. This isn't anything new in AEGs, a quick burst on fully auto and all is well. Despite those issues, I'm still enjoying the AK-47. It really is a lovely AEG. The solid overall construction, the very positive functions, finish is also very good, acceptable out of the box accuracy, the presentation as always is on point, and it has set the bar slightly higher over its competitors with the introduction of the bolt stop feature. Celsius produce a PTW AKM that similarly features a bolt stop ability, but the TM will give you that for half the price. There aren't many bad things I have to say about this AK-47, apart from the early niggles I spoke of earlier. The most notable negative being the fact that other brand AKs out there just are far superior in regards to externals. Ian Dell and LCT leading by example. Beside the GHK AKM, the TM AK-47 is bathed in its shadow. Regardless, TM are under no illusions about the products they produce. They themselves admit that they just make toy guns and not hyper-realistic replicas. Proprietary magazines are of course something else to take into account, although if you're looking to pick up one of these for yourself, you might be on board with buying the specific magazines in order to fully enjoy the bolt stop mode. The recoil engine / bolt stop function are great features, sure, but in terms of it actually getting the BB to the target, it's fairly average, but that's not necessarily a bad thing though. Like many recoil users, upgrading the inner barrel, increasing FPS, bucking replacement, R-hop modification, etc. just gets the very best out of the system, as it would do for everything else really. Installing a MOSFET brings it into the realms of the Sistema PTW, or in other words, a top-tier electric gun that's so much more than a traditional, or I guess you could say, primitive dry-firing AEG. If you're that way inclined, you can build it to the utmost performance of an AEG, with the delightful features present on Tokyo Marui's next-gen Type 3 AK-47. Thanks for watching the video, my friends. If you enjoyed it, show me by hitting the like, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Then you can keep up to date with my latest videos. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them down below. For frequent updates, you can join me on Facebook at facebook.com/BadaBingPictures. I'm also on Instagram too at BadaBingPictures, so you can follow me on there if you like. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you in a bit.